Okay, welcome back. Please take your seats. That was a hint. People are slowly moving into the room, and we have one more panel here before lunch. It's a very good panel. It's on the role of policymakers in the area of accessibility of public sector websites. And I'm very pleased that my consortium partner will be moderating this panel. And so I'd like to introduce Femke Poelman, who comes to us from King, which is the Dutch Local Government Quality Institute. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Femke, who's going to moderate this session.
So we have 3 panel members. Welcome to the 3 panel members. I would like to ask the 3 remaining panel members first to just briefly state their names and roles, and later on in the program we will come to the opening statements that you have prepared. So may I ask you please to introduce yourselves quickly to the audience.
Okay, sorry. My name is Hildur Björg Hafstein, and I'm from Iceland. I'm the project manager of the websites with the Social Security Administration in Iceland.
Hello, and my name is Ima Placencia. I am a policy officer at the European Commission. DG Employment and Social Affairs is the focal point of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and I'm mainly working on accessibility.
Hello, my name is Alejandro Moledo. I'm the New Technologies and Innovation Officer at the European Disability Forum.
Okay, thank you. Still have to get used to this microphone a bit. What we will do today is within the EIII project, the Quality Institute of Dutch Governments has done some research into policymakers and their role towards accessibility. We will briefly discuss some of the key findings of that research. After that, we'll have opening statements from the panel members and have a panel discussion. And the panel discussion is, if I'm concerned, not limited to the panel, but I would love to take questions from all of you, questions, remarks, etc. So we're trying to make this a bit interactive. I know that's a bit challenging just before lunch maybe, but it's a call to the audience to try and make it an interactive session. Like I said, one of the previous speakers, I think it was Jaroslav, already pointed out that the role of policymakers in stimulating accessibility is actually quite important. We have, I will just go over the key findings from our research now. And later on, we will, as said, discuss the role of policymakers in stimulating accessibility. We found that when we look at monitoring, it should be seen as part of actually a bigger picture. So it's not only monitoring, but working towards accessibility should be part of a bigger picture. We found that a multi-stakeholder approach might be efficient, so not only directed towards web editors, but towards different stakeholders that can help improve accessibility. To make accessibility understandable, we found that in the field of accessibility, sometimes in Dutch we would say jargon, which is like the very technical language prevails, which makes it understandable sometimes for policymakers to understand what's meant by certain words and advices. Ownership of the topic is important. Importance of user communities. Pre-monitoring improvement, for example, regulation to focus on the benefits. the empowerment of content creators, designers, and developers. I think Funka also spoke about that this morning. And good reporting on accessibility, including a show of improvement over a period of time, and to have advice added to the reporting and some sort of reward. So it shouldn't be all negative. That's, in a very small nutshell, the key findings of our research. And I would like to ask our panel members this question: how can policymakers improve the level of accessibility of public sector websites? And I'd like to ask for your experiences and ideas. Immaculada, can I start with you, since you're in the middle? Would you please elaborate on that?
So, as the briefing for the panel said, and you have repeated, we have to present what we think based, what our experience and our knowledge from being in the field, what conclusions we have taken from the experiences of others also that have got good or better accessible websites than, for example, the Commission has. What I'm going to name is a number of points that are reflecting the analysis of those other experiences together with the ones of the Commission. It's really a personal view. Of course, I will start saying that many of those conclusions that I will tell you, or those reflections, apply not only to public sector websites, but also to private sector websites. It applies to websites, and I would like to generalize those conclusions because this is one of my first conclusions, that when you want to change the world of the digital world, the websites in general, to be more accessible, the public ones, it's difficult to have maintain a dichotomy between public should be accessible and the private not, because when you look to the tools, to the trainings, to the they are not specifically at the universities, and what the products that industry is producing is not separating significantly for public or private sector. I mean, companies develop websites and then, okay, they sell to the public sector or they engage with the public sector, but they normally, the scope is wider. So, a couple of points, because they told us 5 minutes. So the first of all is to have a clear legal framework. I mean, I think since the EU has become a party to the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, this has become evident, and it is one of the recommendations of the UN Committee. So a clear legal framework based on human rights. It should have, that legal framework needs to reflect the sector, accessibility, and a non-discrimination approach. And it should be very clear in the responsibilities and details. It needs adequate time frame for implementation, and it needs to have enough awareness, ownership, and responsibility being assigned. It should have also, and that is something very much highlighted by the UN, also enforcement and redress mechanisms, to have a clear picture of when it is not accessible and it should have been accessible, what do we do then? This is what it means. Take measures so that change, improvements can be required and implemented. I think the public sector also, concentrating now in the public sector, there is an element of funding, providing enough funding and embedding the web accessibility in their procurement, in the public procurement frameworks. And this public procurement framework should help competition among industries. When you have you publish a call for tenders to make public certain website accessible, what you want is that it is written in such a way that you get many good offers for a good price, and the most competitive ones, the most accessible ones. That training in how to write good call for tenders is something that public administration should or could invest on. I mentioned already the monitoring and profession. I would like to finalize by saying two things. First, the need to professionalize the area and the people involved into it. I understood, and this is a bit challenging for the debate, this issue that you should not see the jargon, the problem that people might have with the jargon. I think it's time that accessibility is properly recognized as a particular profession with its own jargon. You are entitled to have the jargon, the same that nuclear physicists have their jargon, and then policymakers will have to rely on those professionals and those professionalism, and of course you need to explain be able to explain what you are doing. But I would say that it is a matter of conveying the message instead of, and I put that so that we can already trigger a little bit of the debate. So how to convey the message as professionals, but not to skip your own jargon, your own identity, and your own needs to be very specific in what you do. Finally, the role of standards. I think that standard settings are very important to catch up and to give a practical framework to implement the legislation. Those standards should be as much as possible based on research and facts, and not of opinions or interests of whatever stakeholder. This is very important that this happens. And last but not least, and as Alejandro will follow me, we have the issue of user involvement and technical expertise, but I'm sure he will elaborate on that. Thank you.
Alejandro, same question for you. How can policymakers improve web accessibility?
Mainly important for us, for users, for persons with disabilities. And, well, for us, it is very important to have a legal framework, that's for sure. And we are encouraging the EU to, I mean, since 2000. Okay. Well, as I was saying, since 2010, I think, and EDF, the European Disability Forum, has been working for and advocating for a EU directive on web accessibility. And we are here, and I guess part of the discussion will focus on this, and I will talk about it a bit later. So, as a starting point, and I would say a clear legal framework as well, to adopt legislation with a broad scope, with a broad perspective, acknowledging that now web is accessed not only through through computers, but also mobiles, etc. And the point to standardization is crucial. From the users' organizations, of course, we ask for the highest level of accessibility. But in terms of advocacy and legal obligation, let's say, the disability movement has agreed to advocate for the level AA of WCAG. So, of course, we always promote this by saying, okay, WCAG level AA should be mandatory, but then we encourage website owners and public administration to go beyond. And if you want to achieve, and we encourage you to do so, to achieve AAA or to incorporate a new tool that you found or you can procure to a specific accessibility company working on accessibility, please do so. But in the law should be clear that the minimum level is WCAG level AA, and this is good because WCAG is worldwide acknowledged, the worldwide acknowledged tool to make websites accessible. So in this sense, we have a clear standard that we can refer to in terms of web accessibility, and this WCAG has been incorporated in the first European standard on accessibility requirements for ICT products and services, that was adopted last year in 2014. So we have a clear European standard to refer to, and actually we are encouraging the European Commission to refer to this standard to harmonize this standard for the purpose of the Web Directive once this is adopted. Another important point, as Emma also mentioned, is the enforcement mechanism. We are advocating for an enforcement mechanism that includes an enforcement body, an appointed agency to be responsible for to gather the resources, to be responsible for the monitoring, for handling the complaints of users, to have like the focal point of web accessibility of an administration. And as it was also said, the monitoring and reporting mechanism should be put in place as well and actually some of the countries that score better in terms of web accessibility, they monitor the levels of web accessibility in their public websites. And of course, the user involvement. We believe that this enforcement body could be a good way to involve users, persons with disabilities, and the representative organization in the assessment on how well the country is performing in terms of web accessibility. And this enforcement body, we are having, as you may know, EDF is advocating a lot for the Web Directive. We were in contact with the Commission. We collaborated a lot with members of the European Parliament in their report, in their answer, in their amendments to this proposal from the Commission, which at the beginning, the initial proposal was very restrictive, just 12 specific websites, which made not any difference for people's life. So the Parliament enlarged the scope of the directive, and they included the enforcement mechanism. But unfortunately, the Council now is lagging behind. We can discuss it a bit later if you want. But I just wanted to say that this enforcement mechanism, when we talk about it, people say no, but member states won't be willing to do it. And we are seeing this in the Council. Member states are reluctant to appoint a body to make sure that this directive is implemented. But there are other legislation at EU level that made possible this enforcement or this enforcement body, such as the e-privacy directive or the recently adopted EIII regulation on e-identification. So this is a possible mechanism that we believe is crucial to make sure that these policies are truly implemented.
Probably. But that doesn't matter. I think that was a clear statement. You're looking towards legislation and enforcement bodies. And I'm very curious to hear Hilda's story. That's more of a experience story about experiences with accessibility in Iceland. Hilda, please. And you have a presentation.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
It's coming on screen.
I hope so.
Yeah, it will be. Mika will put it on.
Well, this is just some picture to show how things stand in Iceland regards computer knowledge and use. Almost all Icelanders have access to computers and the internet in their homes, and we make extensive use of internet banking. But the Social Insurance Administration is under the Ministry of Welfare and is one of the largest services institutions in Iceland. So just so you can feel where I'm coming from. And our clients, can you switch to the next one, or how does it work? The goal of the SIIE is to offer a quality service to a broad range of clients. Key factor here is accessibility. And the focus we have set is ensuring that our clients have good access, irrespective of whether they need person-to-person service or electronic self-service for private session or professional entities. And we just think, as we make our service center as accessible as possible, we do the same with our website. One could say that we try to remove all obstacles to the service. We have, for instance, a consultant who speaks Polish and another who is fluent in Icelandic Sign Language at our service center. In addition, our website contains material in English and Sign Language, as well as speech synthesizer. Sorry. We have received the highest ratings in audits and all innovations on the web, whether concerning the service website or information website, once accessibility is specifically examined. We are particularly pleased with the monitoring made by EIII, and this is why we, Solveig and I, are very pleased to be with you here today, and we are learning a lot. And of course our websites are responsive. But for me as a web editor, the key to maintaining quality website is to collaborate with interested parties, such as the Association of the Elderly, the Organization of the Disabled, and the National Federation of People with Learning Disabilities. And every changes to our websites are submitted to their representatives, and they are asked to submit proposals for improvements. In addition, we have surveys on the website to gain feedback from users. And this autumn we will start a new project, as I say, because we are inviting elderly starting on pension to come to a course in electric service on the web, and no cost there for them. It is important for all web editors to have clear policies, because we are carrying them out as regards what to focus on web issues. The editors of public websites should have shared goals, clear policy, so they can head in the same direction, because it is right to do so. Just as it is right that the disabled should be able to enter a public institution or use the tool they have to use. Those who formulate the policy must listen to those for whom the policy is to be of use, and guidance, follow-up and funding are just as important as policy formulation. A good policy will not lead to any benefits unless it is followed up by the means of education on how best to, and of course funding. Those of us who work in the website management are highly familiar with the term just, as in you just have to do this or that, but nothing comes from nothing. And as a proud Icelander, I will end with this one. Because I can easily, and hopefully will, establish a policy for going to EM 2016 in France to see our fantastic national team compete with the other best team in Iceland, in Europe. But although the thought is half the journey, I would nevertheless have to follow up on it and find, sorry to say, some funding for the project. But thank you.
And Hilde, just one question for you. Alejandro was very clear about legislation and the importance of legislation. In your presentation, you are focusing very much on collaboration with different stakeholders. Can you say something about how legislation in Iceland on this topic is, how it works? Do you have any legislation, or is it?
No, we have not. But
Maybe, Halla can answer.
Yes, there is no legislation on accessibility in Iceland, but we have a policy which was established in 2012, telling the agencies that they should have their websites accessible from the 1st of January 2015. But that has not happened for all agencies yet.